Editing is good for
Welcome to the Unlock Your Life Purpose Summit. I'm your host, Lorna Moon. Today's guest we have is Fireman Rob Verhelst. And in case you're wondering, that last name is Dutch, not German.
it. Very much so.
Fireman Rob is called Fireman Rob because he started in the fire service back in 2000, which made it very fortuitous because his skills were needed on November 11th, 2001, when the World Trade Centers were attacked. And so Rob was very much a part of that team and rescuing people with that. In addition to that very heroic feat, which is, everyone knows about the events of 9/11. Rob has also been on Discovery Channel's Ultimate Ninja Challenge, which was not as difficult as 9/11, just in case you were wondering. But we will let Rob tell you more about his experiences. Rob?
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. It's always weird hearing your backstory. It's uncomfortable to an extent.
You're like, oh no, they're talking about me.
Yeah, exactly. But it's great to be on here today. Great summit too.
So Rob, it is such an honor to have you. And since you are called Fireman Rob, would love to hear how you came to know that being Fireman Rob was your purpose and your story and how you got there.
Definitely. It was interesting because I wasn't the one who actually nicknamed me Fireman Rob. It came after I started doing Ironman triathlons. I did them in full firefighter gear.
Oh my God.
I started doing that in 2011. So I did search and recovery at 9/11. And for 10 years of my life, I was struggling for that purpose. I was struggling for something that was getting me out of bed, something that was driving me forward. I was just existing, and not existing in a good way. And so for 10 years, I was really lost in my own life. I went through 2 marriages, and September 11th came around, the 10th anniversary, and I really wanted to show something through not just my words, because I wasn't talking much about it. I wanted to show through my actions what that day meant and the power of that day. And my great idea was to run in 50 pounds of fire gear for the run portion of an Ironman triathlon, which for those who don't know what it is, it's a 2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike, and a 26.2 mile run for most people. But I weigh 220 pounds, and in full fire gear, that's 270 pounds.
Oh my.
So it's not much running that I'm doing, but being the 10th anniversary was amazing. And I'm a good swimmer. I got through the swim, and I kind of didn't tell anybody beforehand what I was doing, but there's some good coverage from NBC that was there that kind of shows you. I mean, I was young when I went to 9/11. I was 23.
Wow.
And to be able to see those things and understand what it is, and it's hard because you don't truly realize how important it is to find your purpose, to actually continue to move forward. Because when those dark moments happen, when those things happen that you don't understand, you can always look at that shining light, that little fire in your eyes, to be able to continue to move forward. And this was that start at September 11th, the 10th anniversary of 9/11, the Ironman Wisconsin. I got through the bike, I got onto the run, and the power that delivered, not just to myself, but to others, I could have never imagined. And then transition that to now I'm a speaker. I have academy classes, and I try to teach people the courage to be themselves. And that's really finding your purpose first.
Wow.
In a short answer.
I can't believe you ran 26 miles with 50 pounds of fire gear. You made it through the whole thing with all the gear on.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about that is to date, I've done 22 full Ironmans and 28 half Ironmans. In 2015, my purpose led me to break the Guinness World Record for the most number of half Ironmans in 1 year. Wow. But I didn't do it in the Lycra, where you doesn't leave anything to the imagination. The guy that had it before had 22 with the Lycra, and I got 24 with doing every single run portion in full firefighter gear.
Wow.
That's actually that right on the wall right there. That's that Guinness World Record.
Now I have a friend who does Ironmans. He hasn't done as many as you, and he certainly hasn't done them in full firefighter gear. So I'm going to tell my friend Eric about you, and I'm going to tell him to man up.
Tell him to not. I wouldn't advise it.
I'm going to be like, you need to man up. Here's the next level for you. Oh my goodness.
I love it. I love it.
So you were 23 years old at the events of 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And so were you one of the first that were responding to the scene, or were you more involved in search and rescue afterwards, or both?
So I got there 2 days afterwards. I was actually called up by a rescue team that I was a part of. And when the morning of 9/11, I was actually working at the firehouse, and we had a fire that morning. And then once I got done, I saw that the trade towers had been hit, and subsequently I was called up to go there. And so I drove out there because there was no flights. So I drove out there.
And you were in Wisconsin then?
Yep, I was in Wisconsin.
Okay.
I drove out there, and I got there 2 days after the towers had been hit. And at that point, it was more of a recovery. It wasn't really as much. I mean, we were systematically going through the pile, but at that point, we weren't too hopeful of finding anybody or anybody alive at that point.
Wow. I can't even imagine being 23 years old. And I mean, I can understand like definitely the urge to rush out and be of service and be of help, but I can't imagine, being at that sort of a scene at that young of an age. Well, I can't imagine doing it now, and I'm 44, but certainly not at 23.
Yeah. And I think, when you're talking like in the summit about purpose, because that really is what drives our lives. And so many people don't look at their lives as their own. They don't look at them as a unique aspect, and that they follow somebody else's path or somebody else's purpose. And when I was 23, my purpose was to help others. I didn't know to the extent of what it was, but I knew that was something that I had to do. And so it's hard to always say, find your purpose, or, what is it, or how do you discover it? Because so many people find it in different ways. And so many people discover it in the worst of times. And that's where people have to actually understand, in the darkness, there is a light, there is a fire. It's not a lie. And most of the impact moments of my life is where I found my purpose to continue to keep going. And that's what I always ask people is like, look at those impact moments in your life, the struggles, the strifes. That's where you found your purpose to actually continue to move forward.
Yeah. So that kind of ushered in an area, in a time that was a lot of depression and stuff after that, and being part of that.
Yeah. So I continually daily struggle with PTSD from the military and the fire service and 9/11. It all really combines into one. And it's not something that I know a lot of people say you can go away. It's just being able to manage it. And so I don't get a day off of having PTSD. And that's what sucks, is some days are great, some days are bad.
Yeah.
But like you're doing in this summit, of identifying that reason why it's good to be here is one of the most critical aspects, that why I'm here talking to you, and why other people are able to continue to move forward. It's not something that goes away. We can't always push the bad things away and shy away from them.
Yeah.
They're going to be in your face no matter what. If you put them in a closet. So I always relate PTSD to this. PTSD is a culmination of multiple events. So when I was younger and going through a lot of different things with the fire service, I would put them in the closet. They're round, they're shaped in round boxes, they're square boxes, they're long boxes, they're small boxes. Yeah. I would just put them in the closet. Eventually what happens is all of those don't fit, and they're not stacked properly. And so they fall out every single time that you open that door to put a new one in there.
Yeah.
What I always say to myself is I need to stack these in appropriate categories to be able to manage them, to be able to not every single time that door opens to put in a new traumatic situation or trauma, that everything from the past falls down on me. Yeah. Now, is that easy? No. And nobody's perfect at that, but it's something to try.
So how do you do that? How do you go about doing that? Or
So, I
how
mean,
did you learn to do that?
that's a two very good questions, because the first one of how did I learn to do it is, realistically, I'm not very good when I'm by myself. And that's, in your own head. I mean, I think a lot of people are like that,
Yeah.
is putting myself in that uncomfortable situation. Doing Ironman triathlons, you're by yourself a lot.
Yeah.
And so I put myself in uncomfortable situations physically and mentally to be able to start to build myself, to be able to handle daily life. If you
Mm-hmm.
can put yourself into situations that are beyond what your daily needs and your daily fears would be, then you're actually going to be able to function better. And you start to learn the tactics, in essence, categorizing it. So if something happens at work, say we
Mm-hmm.
have a cardiac arrest and it
Yeah.
doesn't go well, understanding how to put that into perspective. Because a long time ago, what the perspective was is, I don't understand why this is happening. I don't understand what's going on here. This doesn't make any sense. This isn't fair. I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Now you get to that point of trying, you're not rationalizing it, but you're putting it in the perspective of going, you did everything you could. This was what was going to happen in that moment. Now we have to move on because the next person needs you, or the next incident needs you, and
Mm-hmm.
or your family needs you when you go home from work.
Yeah.
So it's really putting into perspective, where does this lie on the priority scale of code red?
Yeah. Because if everything's code red, you
Oh,
can't function. You're in a corner crying and like shaking, right?
exactly. Your productivity goes down. You're not living who you're supposed to be.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's very powerful, because I'm sure that there's, people who will be watching this that struggle with PTSD, because they're recognizing it more and more, and having that as a, advice on coping mechanisms could be life-saving for someone. So, really appreciate you being open about that and sharing that, because it's not easy in our society, expect guys to be like, be the tough guy, tough it up,
Yeah.
and that's not realistic. And that's a
Yeah.
recipe for, people breaking down and committing suicide. So we don't like that.
Right. Exactly. And being a tough guy is one of those things. I mean, I being strong, and I think it's interesting, because we have the male persona of like, oh, we're tough. It's like, and just as people, we have to be stronger, as yourself. You have to have the courage to be yourself, to find that strength, because we're all flawed. We're all not gonna go down the right path at all times, and sometimes we're going to go down somebody else's path because it feels more comfortable. But you
Hmm.
have to get to that point where, going through the scrub brush, going down a cliff face is okay, because you know that why you're doing it is surrounded around your purpose.
Yeah.
Because maybe somebody else doesn't understand that because they've never went off a cliff face, or maybe somebody doesn't understand that because, what are you talking about? I've always walked down the middle of the road. Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you, cars come down the middle of the road and will knock you out. You might as well take the path that's less traveled.
Exactly. Oh, that is so true. Oh, that is so true. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a hard road to travel, but
Mm.
everybody has their ability to do it, and that's one of the biggest things that people need to take away, is that somebody's been there before. Somebody's traveled that hard road, and they survived. So can you.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
So
Did you always know you wanted to be a firefighter?
no, actually,
No?
no. It actually, when I started out, I actually played college basketball and water polo,
Mm.
and I wanted to be a doctor for the longest time. I've always been in professions where I wanted to help people out, and for that, I was like, I want to be a doctor, and not so good at science, so that kind of went out the window. But I had the need to help people. And so I was going through college and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. So after 2 years, I I stopped going and I went into the fire academy to just get my firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 certifications in the
Mm-hmm.
state of Wisconsin. And I loved it. I loved it. But it's a hard process to be able to get into the fire service. It can take a year and a half.
Yeah.
So I applied and took about a year and a half, and then I got on, and ever since then it's been a great career. It's a very challenging career, both physically and mentally, but it's been a great career to actually understand why we have what we have,
Mm-hmm.
and what we can get out of the best of what we can get out of ourselves.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. Now, I was wondering
Yeah.
if you like started fires when you were a kid or something, because if you were like, there's a
Yeah,
guy,
not a fire starter as a kid or a putter outer.
there's a guy I know who went to middle school. He used to have hairspray and a lighter on the bus and spray it on the back of those vinyl seats and light it on fire, and that was his amusement. And he later
Yeah.
became a firefighter, which I thought, it's
It's
probably
a
better
little
that than
ironic.
someone who commits arson.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a little ironic.
So I was curious if you ever had made any, hairspray lighter torches when you were young.
Never. Just water balloon launchers. That's about it.
Oh, those are fun. I like
Yes.
those.
Yes, exactly.
Those are fun. Mm, good stuff. So 24 Ironman, half Ironmans in 1 year.
Yeah, 23. I wish I
23.
had 24.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a long process. I look back at it and I don't understand how I actually did it. It's there's a lot of things that you go after when it's really, really outside of your comfort zone, where you have to take those baby steps. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I compartmentalized so much of that journey into each step that I actually don't remember the whole thing, the whole year. There's
Really?
moments of complete lapse of memory. And the
Oh,
hardest thing was I was still a father. I was still a firefighter. I was still running my speaking business while doing all these other things. And so it was not a easy year. Let's put it that way.
okay. It was an easy year, but one thing that you've just proven is people who say, oh, this is on my bucket list. I want to run a marathon or a half marathon or an Ironman or a half Ironman, but I'm just so busy.
Yeah. That's
Now
no
has no
excuse.
excuse. Like you're just like, hey, your excuse has just been like yanked out from under you because he did 23 in a year on top of all that stuff that you also have that you say you're too busy to do.
Yeah.
And you only need to do one, not 23. So no excuses.
I don't
Wow.
want to be that person that gives them excuses. So
No excuses. None. Wow. That is intense. That is intense. Like that you're like my hero. I'm like, I think about
just
running like 3 miles and I'm like, oh, that's kind of like far.
it's extensive. Yeah, it's all perspective.
Wow, that's incredible. So where are some of the locations that you've
Oh
done
gosh,
Ironmans and half Ironmans?
it's been all over the world. It's been pretty amazing. I've went to New Zealand, I've went to Germany, Canada a few times, and then all throughout the U.S., California, Florida, Texas, you name it. I've been there and done a race there. But it's amazing to be able to go out, and this is the great part of being able to do that, is that inspiration has no language. It has no barriers of race, ethnicity, anything in that. Is inspiration and impact is universal. And I loved that because when I went to Germany, this is one of my favorite stories, is when I went to Germany, the race there is amazing. 5,000 participants. It's challenge road. 5,000 participants, over 200,000 spectators. The finish line goes into the chute, and it's like a horseshoe. And there's
Oh, wow.
about 5,000 to 8,000 people in the stands there. Unbelievable, just great party. And as normal, I'm at the end of the pack. The last place finishers,
Hey,
super.
you're wearing 50 pounds of gear in your defense.
I am still last place, and I'm just wrecked. I'm just wrecked coming in, and you can't see into the stadium, but I know that I'm past the time, and they usually have a time limit. And I'm past the time and I'm going into the shoot and the person's like, just wait, you're going to love what you see. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. My head is held low because the helmet starts to pull down on my neck as the day goes on. And
It makes my neck hurt thinking about it. Wow.
yeah, it's
Sympathy
not
pain.
pleasant. It's not pleasant. I get into the stadium, and one of the coolest things, we're in Germany. I get into the stadium, it's packed. Nobody has left. It already had the fireworks, everything like that. And then something I never thought would happen. Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen starts playing in the stadium. And you have Germans singing Born. I don't even know if they knew what the words were, but it was so amazing. I get chills still thinking about it because it just transcends the borders of anything that we have, to be able to follow your passion, to be able to understand that it is your strength, and that when you go out there and prove just through your actions what we're capable of, that can make other people see, hey, maybe I can try it. Maybe I can live what I want to do. And that's just the coolest part of everything that I've been able to do.
And now you're helping me do that with the summit. Is we're spreading that out to more people. Like, hey, if this guy can do this, then I can, start my little woodworking business or whatever it is that they want to do, right?
It's steps.
And heck,
it's
maybe
steps.
they want to do the same thing you do, whatever. They like.
I wouldn't advise it. It's not very physically smart. If you want to, I'm more than happy to give me a call.
Wow, that is so awesome.
Yeah, it's been a great journey, and it's one of those things where people need to understand that if they have a passion, if they have a purpose, go out and follow it. If it ends up not being what you want it to be, at least you tried to move forward. Most people are so scared to follow something that somebody else hasn't led them down the path to find. Be that person that's different from them and find your own path, find your own purpose, and understand that each of us, we're not defined by any of the tags that people in normal society put us on as rich and poor, dumb or smart, or black, white, Asian, whatever it is. Those are not who we are. Who we are is the person inside. Who we are is the passion that drives you. And that's what makes our world great, because every single person has a unique ability. Every single person has a unique perspective that we need to listen to be able to move forward. Otherwise, we don't want to be robots. We don't want to be the same person. That's not fun. That's not enjoyable.
No.
We wouldn't have discovered anything if we would have been the same single person.
Yeah. That's so true. Wow. That's so true. Truth bombs are just dropping. Truth bombs.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, so what would be your advice? Because, one of the things that I know holds people back is, what are my parents going to say? What's my spouse going to say? What's my, neighbors going to say? What are they going to say? What do you say to somebody who's sitting there on the edge? They're watching this. They're like, yes, he's done these things. I know I can do it. Oh, but what about, when my dad, uses his thing telling me I'm crazy, or my mom or my whoever in my life, tells me I can't do this, or who do I think I am, or whatever. What would you tell them to reply to these people in their lives that are kind of the naysayers?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to not buy into it. Tell them, yeah, you're right. I am crazy. And because the biggest thing that people do that are not supporters, they may be supporters, but they may think that what you're doing is not in the realm of possible. They put their limitations on what they think you should do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to take into account is, when I told somebody I was going to go for the Guinness World Record for the most number of half Ironmans in 1 year, and I was going to get 23, do you think anybody's like, oh, that's a great idea, Rob. You should totally do it. Oh my God, it's going to be so easy. It's one of,
why not do 46? I mean, come on, 23.
You lazy guy, 23, come on. It's the limitations. And we see that a lot in this world, is that people aren't mean. They're not trying to be mean to you. They're just putting the limitations that they have in their own lives on your dreams, on your reality that you want to live. So not engaging in it and just playing it off is probably one of the best things that you can do. You have to learn to be your own catalyst. You have to learn to be your own fire behind the passion that you have, because a lot of people are not going to understand it. Why? Because it's yours. You know, I don't go, I've never had the dream of being a hairdresser, but I'm not going to go and talk to somebody who wants to be a hairdresser and go, well, that's a really dumb idea, because that's not my dream. That's not my passion. I don't have that. I can tell them, you know, I don't think I'd ever be one of those, but hey, good on you. Go for it. You know, there's the perspective that you have to have is that whoever supports you, great. But that can't be your driving force behind why you're doing it. And that gets back to exactly what you're doing the summit for, is understanding your purpose, not your parents, not your friends, not, you know, Gordon Ramsay's or Tony Robbins or anybody like that. It's like, you can get motivated, but like what I'm telling you in this summit, all that is a tool in your toolbox, because I can't motivate you to live your passion every day. I can motivate you today and you'll be like, woohoo, I'm going to go conquer the world. And then tomorrow you'll be like, oof, that world looks scary. You know, it's all about creating a habit of you being your catalyst, not me or you.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. That's such great advice. Because I know that I know that that's one thing that stops a lot of people dead in their tracks. And I knew, as someone who clearly has done some things that people are going to go, that is insane, would have the right advice on that.
Yeah.
Because to me, doing 23 half Ironmans, or even doing one Ironman, and certainly with any sort of firefighter gear at all, even just like one of those little plastic helmets that like my nephew had when he was 5.
There you go. And your sticker badge.
Yeah. And my sticker badge, like, to me, that would be insane, because I'm not an accomplished athlete. Yeah. But there's plenty of things that I do that you would probably be like, Lorna, you're crazy.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. It's all perspective.
So it's like, we all need to own our own crazy dream. Yes. And make it happen, right?
Exactly right. Because at the end of the day, if your dream is really tangibly in reach and you don't have to extend your arm, maybe it was somebody else's, or maybe it's something that you don't really need to accomplish. Got to reach outside of your comfort zone, and that's when you get called crazy, and that's when you get called, that was pretty innovative.
Yep. Awesome. Oh, just so many good nuggets here. Rob, it's awesome.
Love it.
Now, I know you had a special gift for the viewers.
Oh, yes.
So would you tell us what it is?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I actually don't have one sitting around here. Okay. But anyways, I just wrote a book, and this book is really to tangibly help people to understand the concepts that I talk about. I talk about 7 different catalysts for individuals to ignite their life and ignite that potential that's in them. We talk about everything from purpose and passion is number 1, to ownership, decisions, emotional control. You reach on to resilience, you go to faith over fear, and mental strength. And all those things are not just individual cells. They're a collaborative of things that you can utilize in your life and make daily habits. Are you going to be perfect at them? No. And everything with it, I mean, that's something that we have to understand, is you're not going to be perfect at these things. And that's okay. Failure is good because it makes you learn. In this book, it's Forged in the Fires by Fireman Rob. I am going to offer for everybody that's listening, for everybody that watches this, a free Kindle version of that book. What it is, it's a great book to be able to help you to identify your life, your unique perspectives on your life. It's a workbook. It has stories in it. It's super short because I'm not a great reader. I don't like reading. So I created this book for myself. You can pick it up. You can read one section. You can put it down. You can go back and read the section again. It's to remind you, like I said, the more tools you can have in your toolbox to find your potential, to find your truest life, is going to be beneficial.
Awesome. And y'all, there's going to be a big fat button below this video to click on that will link you to that. So make sure that you take advantage of that and don't like drag your feet, because there's just short little window of time that this is going to be available for you free. So grab that link and get it now so you don't miss out.
Perfect.
Rob, it's been so great having you. So excited. Thank you for all the truth bombs and nuggets of wisdom that you shared. It's been such a pleasure.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for doing this, because people need that sense of purpose right now, and definitely traveling on into the future. So thank you so much.